Hey guys, welcome to another live show, another live She Knows Arsenal. Make sure you guys are liking this video and subscribing to the channel and getting into the chat and letting me know what you guys are thinking and feeling. It's Merino Day. We're going to be talking about that. We're also going to talk about Nketiah's done deal to Crystal Palace, the latest on Kivior, the latest on Ramsdale, and if Arsenal are going to risk our season again by not getting an attacker in or not getting everything we need in through the door before deadline day. So make sure you guys smash the likes. Hold on. Why is this on the floor? Yeah, that's better. Also, I want to show you guys my newest addiction. It's not new, but it's a confirmed addiction now. These are so good. I don't know if it'll, yeah. It's Izzy Sparkling Blackberry. So it's not sparkling water. It's juice with fizzy in it. This shit is bomb, y'all. I got the peach one too. This shit fucking slaps. That shit is so fucking bomb, man. Just had to share. Anyways, let's see who's all in here. Benny says, everyone knows we need an attacker. Yes. Yes, we do. Let's see. H says, thoughts on Moreno interview. I thought it was really, really good. I mean, obviously, I think that, every time I see like a player that comes in that's like not English and doesn't play in the Premier League, I'm always like, okay, well, how good is their English? How well are they going to be able to communicate with their teammates? And I think both Calafiori and Mikel Merino spoke very clear English. Not only that, he was just like very calm, cool, and collected. Like he answered the questions really well. I think he answered the questions around what characteristics that he's going to bring to the team. I liked him a lot. I was like, okay, he's all about the team. He's going to work really hard. The duel's 110%, and he comes from like a Spanish background, which I feel like that just means I come from a technical background. Like it's all about team play and stuff like that, which really bodes well for us. And I think he just came across really well. It was like an 8-minute and 30-something second interview. And I'm going to rewatch it. There's something about this signing that just feels right. And no, it's not the marquee that we wanted, but it's definitely something that we needed. And we need more grownups in the room. He said it himself that the team is quite young. And so having somebody else that has a little bit more experience, is definitely needed. And so, yeah, I'm really excited. He looks like he's ready to like get into it, really get into it. So I'm loving it. Anton says, time to apologize to Edu. We apologize on the last day once we see everything that we get. But I think apologies are in order to me. Some of y'all need to apologize to me for yelling at me for saying that we should wait for a better bid for Nketiah and not just include, or just accept whatever. I am so sorry, you guys, but for all of you guys that were like, Nketiah, he's so crap. Nobody's going to want him. Not only did multiple teams want him, but they were willing to pay what Arsenal wanted for him. So y'all should be apologizing to me. But we apologize to Edu on the final day when the window closes, if he gets everything over the line. And I think we all know what that is. It's an attacker. Arsenal desperately need one. And I'm going to be doing a deadline day stream, so we'll get to talk about all of that when it actually takes place. But I do feel like you just kind of hold on to all of your like big conclusions till the very end. But Arsenal don't tend to do anything big on the final day. Don't talk to me about Ozil. I'm talking about this hierarchy. And even when you look at just like over the years, even back then, it's very few and far between. So the closer we get to the deadline, the more like concerned I'm becoming at the same time, like it doesn't mean that they're not going to get it, you know? So hopefully they do. Terrence Tipp says no purple instruments on deadline day. Boy says Nketiah is crap to be frank. He's not good enough for us. Nico says, to be honest, this sale doesn't really mean anything unless we get a forward. Dua Lipa is a gooner, says, should we hijack Tony to Chelsea? Oh my gosh, I just don't. Oh my God, just the idea. I mean, I'm seeing you guys say, you know, what am I saying? I'm seeing you guys saying that Don Robbie is saying that we're in for Tony. I mean, they were saying that the deal for Tielemans was done a couple of years ago, you know. So I don't know what his sources are. They might just be sauces, like, you know. So yeah, I'm not sure about this whole Tony thing. I think Chelsea want him. In case they can't get Osimhen, they will get one or the other for sure. Like they're definitely going to get 2 more attackers in. You know, which unfortunately, like as much as I love the way that we do business, sometimes I do feel like we're very timid when it comes to addressing key areas. And it's like, okay, we need to be like very safe and very cautious and only bring in the perfect player. And, you know, I'm looking at our attacking depth and I'm like, you know, can we afford to be this picky when our attack is just not really up to snuff? You know, it just really isn't. It's just not it, you know? So, you know, we've spoken about this several times too, that, you know, as good as our defense is, I don't think our attack is on the same level. And no, fan opinion is not always the most important. But, you know, I did see a Man City fan saying Arsenal expect us to be afraid of them with this attack. And, you know, I think that there's some truth to that. You know, I don't think anybody is afraid of our attack. I think they're concerned about how they're going to score goals against us, but I don't think that they're necessarily concerned about any individual player being able to pick them apart. You know, I think Saka is probably our biggest threat, but when you look at everybody else, it's very questionable whether or not we have enough going forward. So Arsenal definitely need to confirm that, you know. Burmy Gunner says, waiting for Ornstein or Romano links for a forward. The fact that it's quiet, I think can be looked at as a good thing because, you know, Arsenal are usually pretty quick to send out the email to Ornstein that like tell everybody we're not going to do anything else. You know, the fact that it's still a potential, you know, I think it's kind of a good thing. You know, that it hasn't been completely shut down. But, you know, we just honestly, I just don't think that we can afford not to. So, and I think Arsenal should be thinking about it that way as well. You know, so yeah, and guys, I'm just joking about the apologize to me about the Eddie thing. You guys were, it's funny because like, you know how it is in the chat and stuff like that. Like this community is so funny. I don't really expect like an apology. I'm just mostly just saying it as like a joking way. I get why you guys were so like, just sell him, just sell him, just sell him. The issue is that like we can't just sell him. Like we needed to sell him for the right fee. So I don't think you guys actually need to apologize to me. But that is like definitely something I'm going to keep in my back pocket when some of you guys are talking and be like, didn't you say just sell Eddie for peanuts? You know, Mindful says at the time Calafiore was linked with Arsenal, but no one knew for sure he would sign until Faber Ornstein mentioned it. Robbie confirmed it. Robbie who? Like Don Robbie? You guys, I think it's just like so hopeful, you know, that I just think some of this stuff is like a little hopeful. I'm just going to wait for an actual link from somebody credible. John says we have to sign someone because Jesus already started with his injury saga. The injury saga, that's hilarious. But yeah, I mean, when you just look at the group, it's just so bare, you know, and it's not just from a number standpoint, it's genuinely from a quality standpoint. And I know that that's controversial to say, but I just don't think we have the level of attack individually. And if teams are well organized and they're able to stop us, there's like no way for us to like solve problems outside of like a set piece, which we're still really good at. But I think you need to really look at that group and ask, like, do they have do they have it or not? Because I don't see it, and I don't think they're crap. That's for sure. That's not what I'm saying. I'm just trying to find this little graphic that I saw that was like, when you just see it with your eyes, it's so little. But yeah, I'm just looking for it. If I can find it, if I can, it's whatever. But yeah. I should have already had this saved. And I could have sworn I did, but I don't know what happened to it. Let's see. So, here it is. Now I'm going to share my screen for you guys. Sorry, it took me so long. Okay. You guys see that? This is it. This is it. This is what we have. Do people not like, are we not alarmed? Are we not alarmed by this? Like, this is it. When you see it, it's like very like, and this is with Jesus injured. So that's why he's obviously struck out. Like, but like, come on. Arsenal. BFFR. Like, bruh. So Aegon says, why remove Jesus drama queen? I didn't make this, but Jesus is X'd out because he's injured. That's the only reason why. So this was like, this is why people are more alarmed than they were before, because just having Jesus out like we do now, this is technically what we have available to us now. Jesus has not trained, so he's still injured. So if he's out for the next couple of weeks, this is genuinely what we have. So like, as much as people are like, oh, you're being dramatic, first of all, I didn't make it. But second of all, this is quite literally what we have. No Fabio Vieira, no Nketiah. Jesus is injured. This is quite literally what we have. Like, if Jesus cannot maintain fitness and we get one more injury, we could be really up shit creek. So like, there's actually no room to not get a winger, or an attacker in general. So when you see it like that, I think it's so much more obvious. Now, it's not just the numbers, it's the quality. Like, Nelson is pretty much like this is going to sound so harsh, but he's not taking us anywhere. Like, he's just not taking us anywhere. So idealistically, whoever comes in is just going to have to like replace him, and idealistically can play multiple positions, in my opinion. But there's just a lot of risk that we're taking, if we were not to bring in an attacker, because, like Martinelli, we don't know what his form is going to be like. The assumption is that he'll get back to 2022, 2023 form. But what if he doesn't? What if he doesn't? What if he maintains his form from last season? When we're heavily relying upon Trossard, Havertz, and Saka. Havertz is another one that doesn't necessarily always score goals when he needs to. He's been doing really well, but he's one that needs multiple chances in order to get one in the back of the net. So there becomes a lot of pressure on Trossard, and ultimately a lot of pressure on Saka. Like, you cannot even fathom an injury to Saka at this stage. If you got one, like, you might as well pack it up. You might as well pack that shit up, So, yeah, it's tough, but hopefully, not only does Martinelli get back to form and Jesus maintain some level of fitness. But Arsenal, I've definitely got to add somebody in there. Samuel says, we sold ESR, we sold Eddie, and Nelson is Midi. We need a Midi is funny. We need a striker and a winger. I just don't. I know like we need a striker and a winger. The thing is we've kicked so many things, so many cans down the road for so many windows that now the work that we should have done 1 window ago is now piling up. And so in the window where we were linked to Rafinha, we should have brought in a winger. Like we've actually been looking for this winger since we tried to get Rafinha. Then we tried to get Mudryk. Then it's like we've completely forgot about this position. So we've kicked that can down the road, and we've needed a striker for like 2 windows now. So it's like, I understand that we need those two players, but realistically, we know if Arsenal were to get one over the line, we'd be very like lucky to get that, you know? So as much as I know we need these two positions, we've needed them for windows now. We are basically getting one. And I do think that one really, really good signing can make all the difference. I think you can take Nelson's minutes and Fabio Vieira's minutes and give that to one player, and we get so much more out of it. You guys know I'm a big advocate of condensing the squad. I don't like the idea of having, a squad full of people, but like 10 of them you don't actually rate. I would rather have, 15 to 18 really, really good players that can play, that can cover certain positions and stuff like that. Like, I actually don't think we need like a bunch of fucking players. I think we need one player at the very least that can just take those minutes from Fabio Vieira and Nelson and actually do something with them. So yeah, I know we need a striker and a winger, but like we all know we're probably just going to get one. So we need one, like at the very least, one quality player, somebody that brings something different attributes to the team. Pace, 1v1 ability, clinical finishing, those things, because we lack clinical finishing, pace, and 1v1, so, it'd be nice to get somebody that can add a little bit of something like that. So yeah, Caleb says Rafinha would be nice, or a quality striker. John says we'll break our set piece record this season with Merino as a beast in the air. I think we should talk about that a little bit more in a second. I do want to talk about like Merino a little bit more because that's going to be a really good signing for us. You could just feel it. It's just so obvious. Shamaria says, I dare us not to get an attacker. The 10 and the 14 are literally free. I mean, it depends on what kind of attacker it is. I really don't want like some average guy getting the number 10. Like the number 14 should stay like empty if we're not going to get like Isak. I just feel like almost like we should do it like a basketball jersey and like retire it and put it up on the like wall of the Emirates, like put it up in the stadium. Because it's like, I actually don't think anybody will ever be able to wear it and fill it out the way that they're supposed to. I just don't think so. Aiden says one quality player should be enough. I mean, yeah, I think depending on who the player is, it's still not everything that we need to do, but we really should get one top good quality player in. And here's the thing, as much as, it's like there's only so much time left in the window, we were told about an attacker coming in from the time that we lost to Aston Villa. That Arsenal were going to go big in the summer and they were going to get an attacker, they were going to get a midfielder, and all of the like reporting since then has always suggested that we're going to get an attacker. So I don't think having 4 days left should change anything. Like, you should have targets in your mind. Like, why wouldn't you have the targets already set? Why wouldn't you have already spoken to people? Why wouldn't you already have things in place so that you can get it done quickly once you got the sales that you needed? Like, there's no reason for us not. It's not like we've, gotten a major injury now and we weren't really planning on getting an attacker. So now we have to like move on it now. They've always spoken about getting an attacker and getting somebody to back up Saka. So it will be hard to accept the idea that like if we're at the back end of the window, so it's hard for us to get a deal done. It would be hard to accept that when Arsenal always preach on this like long-term strategy where we're always talking to targets like almost like a 60 months in advance, and we're so good at like planning ahead. if the winger is the one thing that falls through the cracks, that's just because you guys didn't want to do it. When you guys want a goalkeeper, you plan 6 months ahead. When you want a defender, you plan 6 months ahead. When you want a midfielder, you plan 6 months ahead. So why wouldn't you plan 6 months ahead for this? Like, there's no excuse not to get an attacker. Like, let's be serious. Let's see. He says, if we don't sign an attacker, then I'm not watching Arsenal this season. I mean, I think a lot of people will be pissed. There'll obviously be the spin merchants. There'll obviously be the spin merchants that will be like, oh no, like, it's fine. We scored 91 goals. Like, what are you guys bitching about? Like, who cares? But like, the reality is like, no, that's not enough. Like, come on. Everybody is on the same page here, and guys, I don't see anything about Tony on the timeline, so if we're just going from what Don Robbie is saying, come on. Like, I have a can of bear I can save you, or like I can sell you if you guys are listening to Don Robbie, come on. Like, I don't see anything on the timeline about Tony. Let's see. Pixel says, where are the Champions League world-class players? Merino is so average. Tell me you didn't watch him. Tell me you've never watched him before. Osmond says, we need a volume creator or shooter in our team now with Merino sorted. We have enough clean players. Boy says, we wanted Sesko and Williams. They aren't moving. It's crazy to be huffing hopium thinking an attacker is coming in. I mean, well, then they should already, like, there's the whole thing is, if they were never going to get an attacker unless they got Williams or Sesko, then the people that are reporting it should just say that we're not going to get anybody. Like, Arsenal are only setting themselves up. It's not the fans' fault that they think we're getting an attacker. Quite literally, that is what Ornstein is saying. That's what Fabrizio Romano is saying. That's what everybody is saying, that we're still looking at bringing in an attacker and nothing has changed. So, the hopium is being huffed out by the club, not by the fans. So, but it would be in their best interest to bring in an attacker because we don't have enough. Like, we don't have enough. Aiden says, I think that Edu and Arteta are well aware that we need another attacker. I'm sure they will try their best to get one. I don't want to hear try their best. I want to hear it done. Like, we're the only team that really struggles to bring in an attacker. Like, we act like it's brain surgery. Like, come on. Mr. says, Orny bomb on deadline day. Arsenal agree a deal for Victor Osimhen on £250,000 a week. A guy can dream. Yeah, the dream is free. Big says, people out here predicting our signings will flop before they can even hit the training ground. Absolute clowns. And Nico says, last signing is going to be a keeper. Laugh out loud. Let's talk about that for a second too. Ramsdale's move to Wolves broke down, but then Southampton's deal for Bijlow also broke down. So Southampton are back in for Ramsdale, and freaking Fabrizio Romano is doing up, emojis basically like on the Juan Garcia stuff. And I'm just like, so we know we're getting him. Whether we actually sell Ramsdale or not, we're getting this Juan Garcia guy, meaning like we'll probably even just loan Ramsdale out, to Southampton. I still think the best we can do is a loan with an option that becomes an obligation if they stay up, for like 20 million or something like that. But we are getting that Juan Garcia because there's been money set aside for this goalkeeper signing, and which is just so like, I know that we need a backup keeper. So before anybody starts, bumping their gums about, well, what do you expect us to do? Not get a goalkeeper? Like, no, nobody's saying don't get a goalkeeper. What I'm saying is like the fact that our priority is to spend, whatever it's going to take on Juan Garcia, but, we're piddly paddling with the attacker when we bought Nygaard, we bought Setford, we have Raya, it's like our priorities are really, I think, always focused on goalkeepers and center backs and things like that, when it would be nice if we just focused on an attacker just once. An attacker came through the door first, we just got that done, because we are very much so like when we want to operate in the transfer window, we are so good at getting the goalkeepers done. There's money set aside. We have personal terms agreed with the person. It's already set in stone. But when it comes down to an attacker, well, maybe we'll get it done. But it just depends. It has to be the right deal. Like, it's just like, so I'm not saying don't get a backup goalkeeper, but I can't begrudge anybody for being, a little bit annoyed at the fact that, in this window, we will have like completed 4 signings for goalkeepers. And if we don't get in an attacker, like the attack that I showed you is what we're going to go into our 3rd season trying to win the title against City with, so like, it just is like wild to me how we're so good at buying goalkeepers. Like, we're so good at it. And I'm sure that Juan Garcia is very good. I'm sure that, they have a 180-page dossier on him. And the idea is that he's going to help us be more competitive in cup competitions and all that shit. And he's going to be a long-term, replacement for Raya. And we got that in place. All that is cute, but it's not as interesting or as like, oh, wow, that's great, when I'm looking at a front line that's like, I mean, if we're honest, it's probably top 4, but it ain't 1 or 2. Like, it's, our attack is nowhere near our defense, so yeah, it's just tough to get excited about a backup goalkeeper. Nico says, smash the like button and sub to Just People. Make sure you guys do that. John says, I have a feeling we're getting Tony. I just feel like, I mean, what did Don Robbie just say? He had a feeling on it, or he has sources? Like, what did he say to you guys to make you think that we're getting Tony? Like, because I don't see shit. Like, I don't see anything on the timeline, nothing like realistic. And I just remember when they were saying that we were getting Tielemans, and Tielemans plays for Aston Villa now. So, like, I don't know what kind of sources they have, but like, I don't know. I just cannot see it at this stage. Christian says, you think they have enough gloves for the keepers at Colney? Man, goalkeeper central, man. Like, I feel like he's just saying what he wants to happen versus like what's actually going to happen. Cause like, bruh, but listen, like, I don't know. You guys know I don't love Tony. And that would be a huge U-turn off of the back of what they were saying just a couple of days ago about Jesus, and he's so physically strong now, and we believe in him as a number 9, and we believe that we can improve him and Kai Havertz, and that's what we need. That would be a huge 180 to go from that to buying Tony. Huge 180. And I know that it's like, yeah, well, Jesus got injured, but it's like, yeah, like like, that's a huge 180. It also would be a huge 180 based on like what we've heard about Arteta's real like feelings on Tony, or you know what I mean? So I would be very surprised. Very, very, very surprised. So yeah. But on the goalkeeper situation, we are definitely getting that Juan Garcia guy before the window ends. Like, we're definitely like, that is happening. Oh, let's look at this. Chelsea wants to anticipate PSG inside for Victor Osimhen and make these minutes, hours a first official offer. So yeah, like, I've always said that I thought that Osimhen would end up at Chelsea. I think with other teams not being able to come up with the money potentially, that was always going to be their deadline day kind of like extravaganza. Fabrizio Romano has been leaking it and, teasing it for the last couple of days that Osimhen's one to watch 24, 48 hours before the end of the window. So it's going to be their Enzo. I'm sure that they're going to plan it just perfectly where on the last day, he will end up at them, and Fabrizio will do like a live, here we go, and all that kind of stuff, because he's totally paid by freaking Chelsea to do that shit. But Osimhen is most likely going to end up at Chelsea. I've always felt that way. PSG don't seem to want to pull the trigger. I don't think he wants to go Saudi. I think his agent has made that pretty clear. So him ending up at Chelsea is just like a matter of time. Yeah, but we're definitely getting that Juan Garcia. Ramsdale, I think whether it's like straight up buy or a loan with an option that becomes an obligation, Ramsdale will leave. Southampton really like him. So yeah, I think Ramsdale is, on his way out, and we'll end up with Juan Garcia. So there you go. Let's see. Yeah, I mean, Fabrizio he knows about this Juan Garcia deal. He knows it's happening. It's crazy. So yeah, hopefully that works out for us. Nuances of Fate says we'll buy a goalkeeper because why not? To me, there's nothing wrong with buying a backup goalkeeper. It's just you can't go through multiple windows and not improve your attack. So yeah. TB says more defenders and keepers than anything. It's disgusting. I mean, if and when everybody gets fit, there'll be like 2 defenders that don't make the squad. Like that's how many defenders that we have. Like on game days, like Tierney and one other will not make it. We have a lot of defenders, but attackers, no. Amadou says, or Amadou, sorry, I don't know how to pronounce your name, says Robbie dropped a video where he said he heard from a source that Tony stalled his move to Saudi because now there's interest from Arsenal. I don't believe it though. Me neither. That sounds like hopium, the finest hopium you can find. Vig says, I think Ramsdale to Wolves is happening, else there's no point in signing a goalkeeper. No, not Wolves, Southampton. Southampton are the team that are now interested in Ramsdale. The deal for Ramsdale to Wolves has fallen apart, but Southampton's deal for Bijlow actually failed because Bijlow's he failed his medical. So now they're back interested in Ramsdale. So it'll probably be Southampton, which I think makes more sense anyway. So yeah. And this is what like the Athletic said earlier about our pursuit of an attacker. They said in an ideal world, Mikel Arteta would like another forward player. Arsenal, however, are realistic about what might be possible in the remaining days of the window. Long-term target Nico Williams is perceived to be unattainable this time around. And that's my problem is in an ideal world, Arsenal are aware of what's possible. It's like, what's possible being at the end of the window and things like that are never really things that we speak about when we're buying a defender or a goalkeeper. It gets done no matter what. But with an attacker, it's always it's like if it suits every perfect need, but like it's never a priority in my opinion. It's always, put on the back burner, and we deserve whatever we get if we don't improve our attack. I've said that before. I just don't think you can go multiple windows and not improve your front line when you have Havertz and Jesus as your number 9s. And no offense to Havertz, I know he's doing well right now, but we know, you know what I know, you know what I mean. He's a good player, but not clinical. And you have Nelson in the squad, so yeah. Samuel says if we sell Rambo within this 2 days, we will here we go very soon. says ideal world, don't they have scouts a whole 3 months? That's what I'm saying. Like, I don't believe in this whole like in an ideal world, but we would love to get an attacker, but there's only 4 days left. You've had multiple months to work on an attacker, and like I said, when you want a DM, when you want a goalkeeper, when you want a defender, no matter what, it gets done. So if you can't walk and chew gum at the same time, that's a problem. You should be able to work on multiple things at once. But you guys have been talking to Mikel Merino since 2023. Calafiori came to the Crystal Palace game. So why were there no attackers going to the Crystal Palace game? Why is there no attacker, that's been talked to since 2023? When you guys want midfielders and defenders and goalkeepers, you make it happen. When you want an attacker, it's always like if we can, so for me, it's just like, it's not acceptable. Especially since you've gotten rid of Eddie and Fabio and Emil, you've skint it down to bare bones. and you're not going to replenish. Like, to me, that's just ridiculous. And everybody else is signing attackers, so it's a choice. It's a choice. If you're just waiting on Isak, I don't know what to tell you. John says Fabrizio said Coman is wanted by top English clubs. Wouldn't be surprised if that's not us, though. Like, does Coman feel like a signing that we'll make? Does it? Like, it doesn't feel like it, but maybe we do. I don't know, but he's also linked to a move Saudi. I also saw that he's not sure he wants to leave. He's also linked to Barcelona, so his options are like very much so open. He says we lost 3 attackers and replaced them with nobody. Burmy says it may be hopium, but they must have been talking to wingers and forwards in the background just in case. All of these sales and loans, they had to have. They had to have. Like, there's just no way. Like, I have to believe that Arsenal know that they have to bring in an attacker. None of this in an ideal world, if things had fallen into place quickly, if we had I don't want to hear that shit. I don't want to hear that shit. I really don't. I'm tired. We need a new attacker. Like, we've waited long enough, and when I say a new attacker, I'm not saying, a midfielder target that you guys converted into a striker because your main striker couldn't stay fit. I'm not talking about, somebody that's like a backup, like Trossard. I'm talking a fucking game changer. Like, somebody that's going to give us some pace, something, we need it. Because we can't go trophyless this season. I was having this conversation with somebody on Twitter about, whether or not we're good enough to win the league. And, I feel like to win the league, you have to be the best team in the league, and that sounds really simplistic, but when's the last time that somebody that wasn't the best team in the league won the league? I think the last time was probably Leicester, where a team that's why it was like a special story. We know Leicester were not the best team in the league, but they won it. And it was like a miracle, one of those types of like once in a lifetime type things. But 99% of the time, the best team over a 38 game period will win the trophy. That's why the Premier League is so difficult, is because the luck is not a thing. Over a 38 game period, the luck that you receive will be evened out with unlucky moments too. You'll get some calls that go your way, then some calls will not go your way. You'll have some luck in one game where everything you hit goes in the back of the net, and then you'll have games where nothing that you hit goes in the back of the net. Over a 38 game period, the best team 99% of the time comes out with the trophy. When I look at our team and I look at Man City's team, not only do I not see very much difference from last year to this year, but I still see a Man City team that still is better than us. And I don't think it's like 2%. I think they still have so much more quality in midfield and in attack, so until we close that gap, like even with that, if Mikel's not better than Pep, it's still hard, but we're not even like within 1% of them. Like, we are definitely like, we're further away, than that. So over that 38 game period, I just feel like we're still going to come up short. And our best bet with what we have now is a cup competition, because you don't have to be the best team to win a cup competition. You just don't. If you get an easy draw, anything can happen in a cup, so to win the Premier League, we need to be so much better. The team that we have is not good enough. I think our defense can go band for band with City's. I think our midfield is closer. I think our attack is miles off, so until we fix that, look at Liverpool. They had a team that was really, really close to City's quality-wise, and they won it once. So where do we get off think that we're going to walk up with a team that's not even as good as Liverpool's best team and just walk up and beat City because it's our time? Like, it doesn't work like that. It's not your time. You earn it. You earn it by being the best, So that's all I'm saying. I want a trophy. So yeah, Samuel says, true. If we don't get some type of silverware this season, I'm pretty sure big clubs will be knocking to our big players. Nico says, top Gooners will say they don't care about the Carabao Cup and the FA Cup, but then say City are too good when we can't win the league. What a weird bunch. I think they discount the care about in the FA Cup so that they can constantly have an excuse for why it's okay for us not to beat City. Because it's like, oh, we're going for the Premier League. We have to, like, it's like false high standards, but like genuinely, we should be winning domestic cups. We should be going after the Premier League. We should be doing deep runs in the Champions League at the very least. So, I'm not turning my nose up at no damn FA Cup. Not after we haven't won anything in 4 years, So, I don't know why, domestic cups are not important. You need to start winning silverware no matter what it is, because City are not going to let up on you. Like, City are sleepwalking and still look good, So, like, if we sleptwalk, we would be fucked. Like, you know what I mean? So I'm just saying, Caleb says, Jess, do you think we have closed or widened the gap versus City since the end of last season? I think it's just pretty much the same. I think it's still pretty much the same. I mean, getting Gundogan back, probably makes it harder again, but I think it's pretty much the same. I think there's still a top quality attacker or two and a top quality midfielder beyond us. That's, just kind of where we're at. Like let's just say if we had, let's say we had Bruno Guimaraes and we had Isak, we'd be really, really close. We'd be like very, very, very close. But we don't have those players, so you have to imagine that even with those players, it's still not a guarantee we're going to win the league. You can still imagine City winning it, and that's how difficult they've made it. So anybody who thinks that Calafiori and Merino and another backup goalkeeper is going to be the difference between us winning the league and not, I think they're just being deluded. I really do. I think the gap is pretty much the same, but Gundogan probably gives them a little bit more, because he's just so good, So, yeah, Sophie L says, if anything, our bench looks worse than ever right now. I actually think our bench looks pretty much not pretty much the same, but like, how do I explain? So, what is this? I just got a weird text. So yeah, I think our bench has less bodies, but it's not necessarily worse. Like, the players that we've lost didn't have the level of quality that made a big difference to our season anyway. Like, people will say Emil Smith-Rowe, but he genuinely hasn't scored a goal for 2 years for us and added very little when he played for us in any competition. Losing Eddie doesn't really mean anything. Losing Fabio Vieira doesn't mean anything. So I would imagine that adding, let's say, we're going to assume that Calafiori starts, so Timber does not. Timber, to me, is better than Tommy and Zinchenko. So I think him being on the bench in conjunction with them makes us stronger. I think Merino being there instead of Fabio Vieira makes us stronger. So I don't think we're necessarily worse. I think we have less bodies. And I think people like seeing more players. But really, were they quality? What were they adding? They were just bodies. So I don't know if our bench has necessarily gotten worse. I don't think we've improved it enough. But I don't even know if improving the bench was actually our problem. I think we actually have we have at least 2 positions in our starting 11 that need addressing. We need a top quality attacker that's going to start, and we need another starting midfielder. So it's not even about our bench. We haven't even gotten to the point yet where we're talking about just filling out our bench. We're filling it now because we can't get our marquee players, but this summer should have been marquee players, and we've kicked that can down the road again. So yeah, I don't think our bench. I don't think, if I don't see Eddie and Emil and Fabio on the bench, I'm not thinking anything, because none of those players were adding anything anyway. I don't know if that makes sense or not. So yeah. Enwe says, domestic cups don't move the needle in any significant way financially or from a club stature point. Would players rather join Arsenal or Man United right now? I don't agree with this at all. I think, if you can't win the league, you still need to be collecting trophies along the way, because once you do start winning the Premier League, you want to have other things that you can add to that. And that adds to the overall project, what you've achieved. And so when you actually think, if you actually compare Liverpool to let's just say like Klopp, like if Arteta wins one Premier League, he's like 2 trophies away from Klopp's domestic record, because they spent the whole first, like basically every single season throwing domestic cups until the very end. So Klopp's legacy in a couple of years will look so different than it looks now, because he will have 1 Premier League, I think 1 Carabao Cup, 1 FA Cup, and a Champions League. Where City, under Pep, have many, many Carabao Cups. They have many, many Premier Leagues. They have a Champions League now. I'm sure they have an FA Cup or 2. So I completely disagree with this 110%. I think the complete disregard for domestic cups, when you think about legacy and you think about the overall project, when you have more trophies, it beefs it up. 1 Premier League, can be overtaken from Arteta. If somebody else, like if Ten Hag were to win a Premier League and Arteta were to win a Premier League, Ten Hag would still be considered the better manager because he would have more, because he's won more domestic cups. So I think from a legacy standpoint, like this narrative that people are just saying domestic cups don't matter, I just don't understand it. It's not the Arsenal. It's not the Arsenal. It's not the Arsenal way. We've always been very competitive in domestic cups. We take it serious. The FA Cup is our cup. I don't know why, as a fan base, we're starting to get to this point where we're trying to make it seem like it's either Premier Leagues or domestic cups, and I'd rather do Premier Leagues. We shouldn't have to choose. We shouldn't have to choose. We're the Arsenal. We're supposed to be competing for all and collecting like cups, like they're freaking coins in the Mario game. Oh, like we should be collecting all that shit. So I think honestly, like, I don't know where we're getting this from. I don't know where this rhetoric is coming from. I don't know. I just feel like it's just the lowering of standards because people have never seen our club win the Premier League. So they're just like, I don't care about an FA Cup. Well, we should be fighting for all of it. So everything is important. Levon, thank you so much for your super chat, says sold Alvarez and Cancelo means they already have a budget for next summer. We needed 100 million this summer to catch them. Yeah, City they ran really well. And they sold Alvarez, and it's like we could never sell a player and leave a gap in our squad like that and fill it like easily or be able to paper over it because we have a lot of quality. Like it's just we're not really in the same stratosphere as them. I still feel like people think we're really like we're chatting to City. We're really not. We just kind of challenged them twice, so we have a long way to go. But for me, I'm so sorry, but like this whole idea of domestic cups don't matter, I just think comes from like a little bit of like a false narrative trying to make sure that it's okay that we don't win the Premier League. What does the Premier League what does a Premier League mean? What does a Premier League like, or what does the domestic cup mean? What does it mean? Like, it means that we're collecting more trophies. And I'll tell you the most important reason why this team needs to win a trophy is because they haven't won one. This group has not won one. So giving them the task of having their first trophy that they need to try to win is the Premier League against Pep City, who have won it 4 times in a row, is ridiculous. If they could just win one FA Cup, one domestic cup, that would give them at least the knowledge of how to win. Right now, they don't have the knowledge of how to win. If they haven't won it at Arsenal, they've never won anything. So winning a domestic cup, winning any sort of trophy is paramount this season, whether it's the Premier League or not. So it comes from multiple angles. Why, like, I will never understand why people discount the domestic cups. I'm not even English. And I feel like that's such like a foreigner thing to do. Like foreign fans don't care about domestic cups, but English fans do. I just think it's so important. Sorry, the Arsenal perspective says never a bad thing to improve a winning mentality. We literally don't have anything. Like, this team doesn't have any trophies. Like, we can't, like, beggars can't be choosers. The likelihood of us finishing second or third is very high. So finishing second or third, but at least having a domestic cup would be so much better than empty-handed. Because I'm sorry, I'm not going to remember the title races. In fact, I want to erase them from my mind. But I will remember a domestic cup if that's all we end up getting. Josh says it comes from a mentality that every fan has to be positive and never disappointed. It's lame. James says, if you think getting Isak and Bruno won't guarantee us the league, so why are we going haywire for a striker? City waited until Haaland became available before getting him. The reason why we should be trying to get an attacker, even though we don't know for sure if an Isak or a Bruno will guarantee us the league, is because we know what we have right now doesn't guarantee us the league and we know that it doesn't work. So you have to keep improving your squad until you get to the point where it actually works. So saying basically, well, we can't guarantee it, so why would we go get it, is like the worst way of thinking about it. You have to keep buying and keep improving until you win it. You don't just, it doesn't guarantee. You don't know what's going to guarantee you anything, but that does that mean you don't do it? Like, no. Like, you just keep going, so, but what we do know is what we do have ain't enough. So yeah, we should keep going. John says trophies is the basis of banter. Samuel says, yeah, title race hurt, especially last season's. I'm not thinking about those. Like, I don't want to think about that. I like the times that we, like, the run that we had last season where we were beating teams up 6-0, 4-0, whatever. That was great, but what does it mean? Like, it doesn't mean anything. I want a trophy, and I want this team to have a trophy because they need to feel what it feels like to win. And right now, they're just, as much as I hate when people are right that I don't like, but Emmanuel Petit, when he said they're becoming good losers, it's the truth. And I think we'd accept it more if Thierry Henry said it. It's just the truth. This is a very good team that has no reason not to win something, So yeah. John says 60 million from Eddie and Rambo, and we're getting someone. We should be getting someone regardless, but I hear you. Josh says exactly. We need to win FA Cup and Prem. Mastro says we have to accept we're a small club now and we're happy to compete. That's what I'm hearing. It's like, well, it's just, we're keeping neck and neck with City. I don't give a fuck. Like, I don't care. I think Thierry Henry was right when he said that if, the Invincibles had accepted that, well, Fergie's Manchester United are the best team in the country. So, second is best, and tried to wait until he left to win it, they wouldn't have the trophies that they have. They wouldn't be the Invincibles. Like, back then, their version of City was Fergie's United. They're playing with a different set of cards, a different set of rules. If you watched it back then, everything, all the decks were stacked in their direction every year. And so the only way that you can win is if you overtook them. And they did it multiple times. And I just feel like we just think it's just like, well, everything will be perfect, and one day we'll just win it because it's our time. You have to take it, and I just feel like we're accepting the nonsense too much. Like, we've competed with them twice, and that's great, but they also competed for domestic cups and won a Champions League, and and we didn't do any of that. So we have a long way to go. Caleb says, just random question. Did you prefer the 2022-23 season or 2023-2024? I think the crash and burn of the 2022-2023 season was so hard that I enjoyed last season more because I knew from the beginning that we probably weren't going to win it. So I could kind of come to peace with that. And I was like, well, we'll be in the title race. Like, eventually, like, once we got to December, it's like, we'll be in the title race. We'll be fine. And we were also in the Champions League, which was interesting because we weren't in the Europa League, which I hate the Europa League so much. But 2022, 2023, that the crash and burn was so bad that I can't even enjoy the memories of the first part of the season. So yeah, 2023, 2024, because it was like, I think we already knew from the beginning that we wouldn't win it. We knew we'd be in the title race. We were pretty comfortable in the top four. We knew we'd get it. And so it was a very low, like, the pain was duller, but the pain of the first year was just too much. Like, it was just like, I think we all know deep down we should have won it that year. Owen says, big clubs want to win everything. Look at City's cabinet. You don't win like that by putting into your mind some games don't matter. listen, it's just the truth. I don't know where this is coming from. Um, I don't know where this is coming from. Um, Let me put it this way. As much as we banter Chelsea fans, the Chelsea fans that I know expect to win that little funky ass Europa conference thing that they're in. They expect a domestic trophy and they expect to at least finish in the top four. If we were in their position, we wouldn't expect any of that. We would be saying top four. We wouldn't expect to win anything, so I think the mentality of, and we're so much further along than them. Well, probably not as far as we think we are. I think they've closed the gap on us just a little bit, but as far ahead as we've been, and we're like 4 or 5 years into this project, we still don't have any expectations of actually winning trophies, and I find that to be a little disheartening. Like, as a fan base, I feel like we should expect more. So yeah, I think we accept a little bit too much, including the idea that not getting an attacker is fine, because we scored 91 goals, and look what Kai did playing striker, and even there's no guarantee that playing Kai Havertz the entire season as a 9 would have done anything. We still would have had an imbalance in midfield, because Thomas Partey was still injured the entire season. There's no guarantees. It's all if, ands, and buts. If Martinelli goes back to his own, oh my word, I'm going to read this out in a second. But it's all if Martinelli can get back to form, if Jesus can stay fit, if, Kai Havertz can score 20 goals, if. We have too many things that are like up in the air. There's 233 of you guys watching on the tube. There's like at least 1,000 of you guys watching on Twitter. Make sure you guys like and subscribe. And those of you freeloaders on Twitter, make sure you guys come over to the YouTube side once in a while. Arsenal believe, so switching subjects, let's veer away. Arsenal believe Merino can cover at 6 if required, but the direction of travel appears to be midfield 3 of Rice, Merino, and Odegaard. Let's go. And that's what I want to hear. Like music to my ears. That's what I want to hear. I mean, this is so good for so many different reasons, you guys. This is all I've ever wanted. Odegaard, Merino, and Rice, we're finally going to get an actual midfielder playing in that left 8 next to Declan Rice. He's somebody that can drop deep and operate in actual midfield positions. So unlike Emil and Fabio and Kai that were so fucking high up and never wanted to receive it in crowd scenes, he will do that. He's good in the duels. He's going to support Rice, but he's going to allow Declan Rice to play in his natural position. So I don't have to watch my boy looking all stiff in and around the box. Yes. He also can allow Odegaard to go over to the left, because a lot of the clips that you watch of Merino are actually him in right center mid. So we'll get to see him at right center mid, swapping positions with Odegaard, so you guys can see him on the left, for those of you guys who are gagging for that. Declan Rice gets to just go back to the position that we actually bought him for, so we don't have to watch this nonsense anymore. And we don't have to rely on Thomas Partey anymore, because let's be real, he doesn't have the legs to play 38 games and more in Europe and stuff like that. Yes. And if you guys want to see it, I'll share my screen for those of you guys who are like, what are you saying? It's not true. What about blah, blah? No, it's true. Kablam. So this also means no Kai in midfield. Thank the Lord. Thank the Lord. We're free. Yes. I mean, guys, this is what we've needed. We'll still have good depth in midfield with, Partey being available, being, somebody that we can use in competitions and stuff like that to come in for Rice. You'll have Jorginho playing in the El Neni role, which is always what he should have been doing. Yes. And Ethan will cover right center mid and left center mid. We're moving in the right direction when it comes to midfield. And Kai not in midfield. It didn't work. The experiment didn't work. It's unfortunate, but it just didn't, so I mean, this is music to my fucking ears. Oh my gosh. Reliable source. Yes, it's The Athletic. It's pretty much as reliable as it gets. Because I know if I don't like what is said, I don't believe it. But if Ornstein turned around right now and told you guys we were linked with Tony, you guys would be like, "Oh my gosh, Orny, the guy, he's the man." But The Athletic is as reliable as it gets. So, and to be honest, we need that. I know it. The idea would be better. Some people feel like Rice and Partey. That makes so much sense, but last couple of games, it's just not good enough. We need an actual 8 playing in the 8. I'm so happy. Like, that doesn't mean that when we play against Brighton, that's what we're going to see either. Because I don't think Partey is just going to be thrown in the bin. Like, that's not what I'm saying. I think Merino will still be eased in, but I wouldn't be surprised if we came back from like international break and we started seeing it a little bit more. So yeah. Yes, I can't wait. And this is for the Martinelli people out there that are like, Martinelli, needs support. You need this. If you're a Martinelli person, you better be jumping for joy. Okay. Because this is what you need in order for Martinelli to thrive. Rice or Kai in that left 8 is a death sentence for your boy. So yeah, you need. I can't wait to see Calafiori and Merino on that side. I think that is going to help us so much. Josh says Martinelli. Woo! I mean, this is what he needs, right? This is what we've asked for. Blackema says, why have we never seen Zinni at 8? I don't think he has enough awareness. I think the way that Arteta, look at the type of midfielders that Arteta is bringing in. He needs players that can win duels and are defensively aware and responsible. That is not Zinni. That is not Zinni whatsoever. And we had this conversation before where people were like, well, wouldn't it make more sense for him to lose it higher up in midfield? No, because when you're in midfield, you're more central. And if you lose the ball in central areas, think about the way that we got torn apart the other day against Morgan Rogers. If you lose the ball in the left corner or near the touch line, it's so much more difficult for them to expose you than it is right down the gut. If you are exposed right down the gut, you are fucked. That is a one-way trip to your goal. Just like when Morgan Rogers was just running through the middle. If Morgan Rogers was on the side, it wouldn't be as bad. So I think Zinchenko being in a certain area allows for you to control that a little bit better than if he's losing it at the top of your box, losing it in the center circle, and he's not particularly athletic. He doesn't win duels. I just don't think he's an Arteta midfielder. And I think there's a reason why Arteta and Pep have steered away from it. Zinchenko at this stage at the game, I just feel like he's really good at one particular thing, and that's great, but it's so limited, and the positive from it or the pro that we get from it is just so, we don't need it as much anymore. I think that's the problem with Jesus too. It's all the things that they added to us that first season. We don't need anymore to be good. So we don't need them as much. We don't need to risk it as much. Like Jesus being all the way back by the DM, helping us create chances. We don't need that anymore. So Zinni at the 8 is an idea, but I just feel like, if Pep and Arteta, two really, really good coaches, have steered away from it, I feel like we can just pretty much accept that it's probably not a good idea. So yeah, Josh says also who drops out for Tomiyasu. For what? For what? TBG says we've got a lot of tactical versatility on the left now. Merino will change our lives. I agree. In the squad, I don't know. I mean, we need somebody to drop out for. Oh, you mean when Tomiyasu comes back? Oh, I don't know. I mean, I would imagine that. Let's just say everybody is fit. I think what? Who do we have on the bench for defense against Villa? Here, let me go look. Arsenal. This is another reason why I think slimming down the squad and having quality over quantity is so important, because you don't want to be paying guys 100,000 pounds per week if they're not even going to be making the game day squad. Which we probably will have that scenario, and sometimes it's unavoidable. But I think idealistically, if somebody's going to miss out on the squad, you'd rather it be like MLS or Heaven, or somebody like that you're not paying like crazy wages to, if that makes sense. So yeah, that's something I think about too. I'm like, and I know it's like, oh, you're being a fucking accountant, and I'm like, I'm just saying, like, idealistically, you wouldn't want to be paying somebody 100,000 pounds per week that's not going to actually be making game day squads, Okay, Villa. All right. Actually, let's go back. Let's go to Wolves. So against Wolves, Timber was in the squad. Zinchenko was in the squad. And we had Calafiori. So let's just imagine like Calafiori starts instead of Zinchenko. Zinchenko drops to the bench. And then you have Timber, like Eddie Nketiah is not there anymore. So that opens up a spot. But Merino would be there. Reece Nelson. If we get an attacker, that person has to take Reece Nelson's spot. And I mean, is Tommy making game day squads? Because I would imagine, Timber will always be there if he's fit. And then Arteta's obviously going to bring Zinchenko. So I would imagine like Tommy and Kiwior are not making game day squads. I mean, maybe they do, because we would need, because I think Arteta would be like, okay, well, if we need a left-sided center back, Calafiori will just move to left-sided center back, and then we'll just bring Zinchenko in or Timber in. So I don't know if Tommy is coming back into game day squads. I really don't. I don't know if Kiwior is making game day squads, because you really don't need 5 or 6 defenders. Right here, we have 2 that are there to come in. So adding an additional one just feels stupid to me. So if Calafiori is starting and White is starting, Timber would be on the bench, and then I just would imagine Zinchenko's on the bench. I don't know if Tommy is making game day squads, and I definitely don't think Kiwior is. And I just saw earlier that Kiwior is staying, which is fine, but that most likely means that Tomiyasu is out for a lot longer, or Arteta and Arsenal just don't rely upon Tommy at all, which they shouldn't, because he's been injured almost the entire time he's been here. So, yeah, I do think like Tommy / Kiwior are missing out on game day squads. Yeah. Yeah. I think they're missing out on game day squads. That's tough. PBG says defensive midfield is stacked arguably on par with City. It's literally just the attacking options that stink. I mean, do you guys want to here so we can look at it? Because it's hard to see just like when you're just thinking about it. But here, let's do this. Let's share the screen. Like defensively, we have probably one too many, if we're honest. That's why I was like, you need to sell Kiwior, because he's not even going to be making game day squads, and he's just going to be rotting on the bench. But, because Tommy is not obviously going to be injury prone, I guess they're just being cautious. So let's just do Raya. Don't worry about the numbers. I'm not doing that right now. White, Saliba, Gabriel, and let's just assume Calafiori is going to be a starter, right? We're all assuming the same thing. Let's say, so Rice, Odegaard, and Merino. And then Saka, Martinelli, right? And Havertz. Okay. So then, where are the subs at? Okay, let's just assume we buy Garcia because we know we are. Let's be serious. Juan Garcia or whatever his name is going to be there. Let's just add all the subs now. Okay. So behind Calafiori, are we all not on the same page that it's going to be Zinchenko? Or do you guys actually think it's going to be either Tommy or Kivior? Because I don't. I think it's going to be Zinchenko. You know, maybe you guys think it's going to be something different. And then Calafiori is technically the backup for left center mid, but I guess we can put, yeah, I guess. Yeah, technically he's the backup here too, right? And then the backup for this is like, is it Tommy or is it Timber? You know, because Timber played there in preseason. So you guys can let me know what you think. But I think it's basically that. Is it not? Kivior is not making game day squads. He's not. He's not. Like, there's just no way. You know, we could put him here just for shits and giggles, I guess. Just so he's not like not there. And for whoever's in the thing saying that I'm disrespecting Timber, I don't think I am. I think you buy Calafiori to play there and he's going to be the starter. I don't know why he wouldn't. So I think people are trying to force Timber in as the left back, but I don't know about you, but do we want to have Timber as our left back when he should just be playing on the right? He's right and left back, but I don't see Calafiori as a backup. And that's no shade to Timber because I always felt like eventually he would break in on the right anyway. So yeah, I don't really see Timber continuing in on the left. I think he's basically just there until Calafiori. Like, do you guys actually think Calafiori is going to sit on our bench? Be fucking for real. But Timber, I think his spot is more on the right anyway. Sorry. Like, eventually that's where he'll play. He'll play on the right. Playing left footers, putting right footers on the left-hand side is just so ridiculous when you don't have to. So yeah. And Kivior is nonsense at left back. He's a center back and that's it. But yeah, Timber is cover in all of these positions, but I feel like he's going to be on the right. So I don't know what to tell you guys. All right. So let's do these ones now. Y'all are going to fight me in these comments. I can already feel it. So this is Waneri, right? Oh no, sorry. That's wrong. This is Trossard. 7 and this is Waneri. Yeah. And then Odegaard. This is Odegaard? No. Okay, so this is Thomas / Jorginho. Is it not? And then Odegaard's pretty much doesn't have a backup, but we'll just put Waneri there too, because it's basically him too. Also Merino can play there too, so I'll put Merino there too. Merino can play here too. Okay, and then there's like just Nelson, and then Jesus. And then Jesus can also cover on whatever side, but whatever. Okay, so I'm looking at the comments. You guys are mad. You guys are mad. I'm not disrespecting Timber. I think the problem that you guys have is that you guys don't want to accept that there's probably going to be more competition on the right than you're comfortable with. I think we're comfortable with the left-hand side always being a rotation, a rotational group, but I actually think there's room for Timber to break in on the right, and nobody wants to have uncomfortable conversations about Ben White. Like, Timber is a right-sided center back that plays on the right, that's played right back for us, that's right-footed, and we have Kivior who can play with his left foot, Calafiori that can play with his left foot. Like, eventually we're just going to play a left footer on that side. Especially if you guys love Martinelli the way that you say you do, then you want a left footer on that side that can hit those balls in behind the back line for him. So to me, like, to have no right back cover here and to just be shoehorning Timber over there just feels like you don't want to have conversations about Ben. Like, you're uncomfortable with Ben needing to compete for a spot. So, and I don't know how you can say that for a fact that Timber is better than Calafiori when you actually haven't seen either one of them play in our team for more than 180 minutes. Like, it's very up in the air who's better for that left-hand spot. But I would say probably the left footer is probably better. So Josh says Ben needs to eat bench. He hasn't been exceptional for a long time. It's like, because they would just make them feel more comfortable to have, Timber just shoehorned on the left. I really wonder what Arteta would have done if at the beginning of last season Zinchenko had been fit. If he had been, I don't think we would be even having these conversations. I think Arteta using Timber there because he didn't have Zinchenko just meant Arteta found a solution. But if Timber was always meant to play left back, then why did we go and spend 37 million on Calafiori? Like, nobody can answer that question. Like, let's get left footers on the left side. So I think, it's okay to say that White may not have to fight for his position. It's not that big of a deal. But in terms of, game day squad, you have your 11, let's say. You can have 9 on the bench, can't you? Right? You can have 9 on the bench. I think it's right. I'm just making sure so we can. I hate how this works for me because it hates me so much. And I'm just trying to get to regular ass Google. Is it that hard to understand? Google. You guys confirm for me it's 9 on the bench, isn't it? Just so I make sure I'm doing this right. 1, 2, 3, 4. Yeah. Okay. So you're going to have your backup goalkeeper. You're going to have 2 defenders. So that's going to take out probably Kivior and Tomiyasu. So yeah, you have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. So 3 midfielders. So you're going to have Nwaneri, Thomas, and Jorginho, right? And then you're going to have Nelson, Trossard, and Jesus. Unless Arteta decides not to get an attacker, and then he'll just put another defender in there. But yeah, I feel like Kivior and Tomiyasu miss out on game day squads. Right? Because both Jorginho and Thomas are going to make the squad with Nwaneri. And then he'll have all 3 attackers with him as long as they're fit. So, yeah, I think Tomiyasu, Kivior miss out on the game day squad. I don't see why they wouldn't. And both Calafiori and Timber can both fill in at center back. I think you're covered. I just don't think he's ever going to leave Zinchenko or Jesus out of a game day squad. So yeah, Samuel says people were saying Timber over Ben White in the chat need medical help. I don't even know if it's like Timber over Ben White. I think people are getting a little bit too amped up about it. I just feel like we're trying to force Timber as the left back when I don't understand if Timber was always meant to play left back, like people are saying, why would we buy Calafiori? That doesn't make sense to me. But I don't know, a left footer on the left side just makes sense to me. But, if you want to put Timber on that side and have 12 left backs and nobody else on the right, have fun with that. But I just feel like as the season goes on, it'll be Calafiori. Like, I don't understand why it wouldn't. There's no reason to buy Calafiori if Timber's just going to play on the left, because you still have Zinchenko, you still have Kivior, you still have Tomiyasu. We bought Calafiori for a reason. So, but I think it's just more comfortable to put Timber on the left because we don't want to have anybody competing with Ben. And it's weird. David Ball says the biggest advantage Ben has over Timber is his chemistry with Saka. I think that could build very, very quickly with Timber, over a couple of games. Like, he does have the chemistry, but equally, I think that chemistry is something that the better teams are able to defend against. And so it'd be nice to have somebody with different dynamics. I think Timber will be a better overlapper. I think he's a better dribbler, so he'll give you different things on the right. And also, it's really easy to defend people just like we have our wingers. It's really easy to defend players that have to cut in on their other foot because they're playing on their wrong side. I do think that against Aston Villa, I didn't love Timber on the left as much because I felt like he was playing okay, but it was just, we were so narrow. There was no option to clip that ball over into that left half space. Neither one of Rice or Timber could do it. And I just feel like in those kind of the fullback positions, it's just so much better to have people on their right foot because then you don't have to worry about them having to cut in. Aston Villa knew Timber was going to go inside, so they just let him go there. There was no option to hit it down the line, none. So I think the chemistry is a thing, but having different attributes is also good. Mastro says, Jess, are you ignoring that Calafiori could be Gabriel's replacement? I'm not ignoring it. It's just unlikely. I think it's well documented that Calafiori is going to play left back. He can also play left center back, but the idea that we're going to rip apart, a center back pairing that was the best in the league last season unprovoked, when left back hasn't been solved, and it's probably one of our Achilles heels from last season was not having a left back that we can rely upon, feels ridiculous to me. Why would it be a priority to bring in somebody to replace Gabriel when you didn't have a left back that you felt confident in all season? So again, if we just work back from what was most important from last season, it's not finding a Gabriel replacement, it's finding a left back. And so why would we buy Calafiori for no reason? Just to sit on our bench to do what? No, it's just makes no sense. Artie says Timber will be a rotational option until Arsenal are sure he's fit enough to play back-to-back 90-minute games. I do think Timber will kind of be a rotational option at the beginning, and then once they feel like he's good to go, he'll play more minutes. I think he's started over Calafiori only because Calafiori has never played for Arsenal before, and he needed time to get integrated in. So we started off with Timber on that left-hand side, coming in for Zinchenko and stuff, but eventually Calafiori will just take that position. I don't know why we're even talking about it. IP says Calafiori is a guaranteed starter at left back. He'll integrate fully post-international break. Hello. Being Uki says, I think Timber is learning his new left back role and will look better once he plays more games. I wouldn't be surprised after international break if Calafiori is playing there, but it's not like Timber didn't play, right-sided center back in preseason. It's not like on the last day of the season, he didn't come in at right back, so I don't know why we're ignoring the fact that we need cover at right back, and he's probably our best option for that. And Calafiori is probably our best option for left back. So yeah, but I think, Kivior and Tomiyasu, like what we were talking about earlier, are probably the ones that miss out, on game day squads, unless Arteta wants to bring in a million defenders. But I feel like let's save a position for the front line, bring in an attacker, have them be there with Trossard and Jesus on the bench. And you only need 2 defenders. We don't need more, especially because everybody, most of our defenders, except for Saliba and Gabriel, can cover multiple positions. Calafiori can, White can, yes, he can. Timber can as well too. So So yeah, Blank Face Killer says people aren't thinking bigger. We got other competitions Timber can start in, and that's the whole point. Yeah, I feel left back is just, it's the merry-go-round, but you know, um, yeah, I think it can look like anything on any given day because so many different people can play in those positions. But my gut feeling is that Calafiore will eventually be a starter on that left-hand side. So yeah, but this is decent depth. I know that we've been speaking about the depth and, is this good enough? The back line is great. The back line has everything it needs to have. It's just up front is really weak. That's where we really need to look at things. I think Rice, Thomas, Jorginho, that's really good DM depth. Odegaard, he's never going to come out. He's our captain. So I'm not as worried about depth and Odegaard's position. Also knowing Nwaneri and Merino can play there. Nwaneri's going to play a lot of minutes. When you look at this, Nwaneri is going to have quite a bit of playing time, I think, or at least minutes are going to be available to him. It's the front line that needs work, and we all know that. We've been speaking about it ad nauseum today. But yeah, make sure you guys like the video and subscribe to the channel. We are going to go ahead and get out of here because we've been speaking for an hour and 30 minutes. But we're recording Cannon Club tomorrow, so that should come out either late tomorrow or early Thursday. Also working on whether or not we're going to do a show with Diluted on Thursday, so I'll keep you guys updated on that. We will also working on getting a couple other people on the show. We're going to do a deadline day thing as well, where I'll be on for a couple of hours, so that should be fun. So yeah, we will just keep it moving, but make sure you guys like the video and subscribe to the channel. Hopefully we get an actual link from somebody reliable about an attacker. You guys, I'm not even gonna entertain the Tony thing. Let's be serious until somebody actually says something reliable on it, but really enjoyed this stream. Like and subscribe, and I'll see you guys in the next one. Bye guys. Wait, make sure I didn't miss any super chats, so I did good today. Bye guys.